Look, the administration has made clear from day one there are two things they want out of China. They want more help on North Korea and getting them to dismantle their nuclear weapons program. And they want China to act more like a market economy that China claims it is, but clearly isn't when they subsidize steel, encourage state intervention into various industries, and don't allow market access to U.S. companies. Mr. Froman, are we making any progress as a result of this trip on those two issues?
Well, I think you'll see a number of announcements of specific deals, what the Chinese like to call tweetable deliverables, as a present for the president. Question is whether these deals would have happened anyway and they've just been saved up for announcement, and whether the president will pivot off of those deals and really focus on the kind of economic reform measures that China needs to take if we're going to have a fair and balanced relationship with them. Issues around technology transfer, around excess capacity, around intellectual property rights protection. Those are the meaningful underlying issues that we really need to get at. So far, they've not received a lot of attention.
But who knows if the deals will actually go through, right, Patrick? I mean, they are announced, they walk away, and then what?
So some of these deals, like Michael said, are things that were already in the works. But this is a classic Chinese thing that they do. Whenever they have a foreign visitor, they go to another country, they announce a whole slew of deals. About 90% of them never happen. And so, like Michael said, the key issue is whether you change the structure of U.S.-China trade, and in particular, the structure of the Chinese economy. And that means engaging the Chinese about economic reform, which unfortunately has really been stalled. There's this sense in the markets like China's back, the Chinese economy is doing well, but in fact, the reforms that are so necessary to keep the Chinese economy on the right track and also open up to more imports from abroad have really been stalled. And as Michael knows, this isn't about tweetable deliverables. This is all about follow up, follow up, follow up. You've got to make sure that the Chinese follow up on their commitments.
Gillian, weigh in there, because when you look at the 19th Party Congress that just happened, they look like they're going backwards. More state intervention, more government control of the big industries there.
Yes, absolutely. You have an increasingly authoritarian China's leadership right now. But I'd like to disagree with Patrick, because actually I think the Chinese have been studying Donald Trump very closely in recent months, and they have decided it is absolutely about tweetable deliverables. And if you look at something like the Alaskan pipeline that people are talking about, which could be a deal to bring LNG from Alaska into China, this is something that almost certainly they're going to make a big deal out of. It's going to be like a present for Donald Trump, something tangible that he can tell the Alaskan voters about. In reality, though, as Patrick and Michael have said, this deal has been in the works for a very long time. There's a glut of LNG in the world right now. And so it's going to be more a question of trying to dress up things that are happening already into some kind of cosmetic takeaways, or if you like, tweetable deliverables.
Patrick, to follow up on Michelle's question, can you really make a deal with a Chinese corporation? Because Chinese corporations are, for all intents and purposes, they won't like me saying this, arms of the government. I mean, the Communist Party is always a partner. Are those deals that you can A, make, and B, believe that will be adhered to?
In many cases there are. I mean, China has commercial as well as political goals. But I agree, by the way, with Gillian that politically, tweetable deliveries are what matters. The question is down the road, in terms of really getting what we need from China, it's the structure of the relationship. And that includes state-owned enterprise reform in China is one of the things that's gone backwards. Instead of what they've said they wanted to do, which is open up Chinese state-owned enterprises to more competition, a more competitive environment, instead they've been turning them into more concentrated oligopolies. And that's one of the things that the U.S. really has to have a serious conversation with China about, because it affects us too. Is it just a conversation,
Michael Froman? You had those conversations. You fought this battle. Here we stand, and China is demanding that they be labeled a market economy at the WTO, even though they're clearly not. I mean, what can we do so that their incentive structure changes, so that they don't keep supplying, leading to a glut of steel, as one example, in world supply?
Well, China poses a lot of serious challenges to the global trading system, and certainly over the 8 years of the Obama administration, it was a primary area of focus from the president on down. I think we made some significant progress, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and I hope the Trump administration will continue that work to really put the emphasis on the economic reforms that are necessary. we were watching
what does that
President
mean?
Xi.
That means you talk to them and you tell them that's what they should do? I mean, how do you, is there any leverage we have so that they change their behavior?
Yes, I think you need to use all the tools that you have available to you. So yes, you talk to them and you raise it at the highest levels, which is important in their system, but you also use enforcement tools and you use tools of diplomacy to get the rest of the world organized behind you. So it's not just the United States pushing on them, but whether it's Europe or Japan or, very importantly, other emerging economies. When Indonesia or Brazil say they're disturbed by China's overcapacity in steel, it has more of an impact on Chinese decision making than it does if the U.S. says it. And so organizing that effort, it takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication, but it does tend to affect their behavior over time.
Okay, so we have that leverage, Gillian. But then on the other side, we want their help. We want China's help when it comes to North Korea. I mean, don't they ultimately have the hand here?
Well, the problem is that the administration says it wants to keep the economic and trade track in a different box, if you like, from the security track. But actually, that is rubbish. Because as far as Donald Trump is concerned, he has spent his entire life and career cutting deals, using whatever leverage he can, pulling any element he can to bring to the table to actually cut a deal with his opponent. And in this case, there's a very clear recognition inside the administration that they want to try and use the trade element both as a carrot and a stick to get more cooperation on the security element. One of the problems is, though, that neither side is particularly unified in terms of what they're actually trying to seek. I mean, it's not entirely clear right now who is driving foreign policy from the Donald Trump administration, whether it's Rex Tillerson, whether it's the military, whether it's Trump himself. And so whether he's going to be able to really carry off this balancing act of threatening on trade or giving carrots on trade in order to get cooperation with North Korea is tough. And the other key element is the Chinese themselves are increasingly divided about what to do with North Korea. There are both hawks and doves inside the Chinese administration. And frankly, Xi's position right now is also uncertain.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.